Hipster Assassins began kind of just by chance. When I moved to New York, I was looking for the opportunity to play music out. And I wanted a place that I could play on a weekly basis. And I had the opportunity through a friend who called another friend to get me a spot every Monday. Or originally I think it was Tuesdays, but we went to Zinc Bar. And at that point my brother was also in New York, and I had a friend visiting. And we started a trio. But he couldn't stay, my friend on keyboard. A great keyboardist, Colin James from South Florida, and my brother Felix Pastorius on drums. So we had a trio, and we had people come in and sit in and stuff. But when he had to leave, I had to try to figure out how to keep this going, get a band together. And I slowly incorporated the Bendys, John and Mike Bendy. John Bendy on guitar, Mike Bendy on bass. And I've known them for quite some time. I've known them both for about 12 years now.
Oh,
yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, and I've known, we've played many times before that, so it was not unlikely that it was going to happen anyways. But I was like, if you guys can do it, they live further out of town. They live about an hour and a half out of the city. They had to drive, And when they made it, and they were willing to take every Monday and dedicate it towards coming down and driving and playing, I was extremely excited and happy, and we continued to play with different drummers here and there. Eventually, one night when we were at Zinc, everyone was saying, "Man, you really got hooked up with this drummer, Kenny Grohowski. He's like perfect for the band." He was just there the night or two before, and so our sax player. Oh, and that's another thing, Chris Ward on sax. He came in after we had the 4-piece. When Kenny was brought up, he was like, "Well, I know him. I'll give him a call. Well, let's see if he wants to play." And we got him one night, and from there, it was just like, "This is who we want to play with." And it's a group effort. It's not so much me. It's everybody involved. The Hipster Assassins was a name that our guitar player's wife came up with. It wasn't, it was just kind of like we need a name. We wanted something instead of just my band. And I like to think of it as we're all leaders, and we all input, and we all, guide and follow, and it's not a one-man show, it's still a growing process, and we're doing as much as we can. And I really appreciate playing with another bass player too. That was a huge thing. That's different. Not too many people do that. Because the way that both Mike and I play it incorporates a lot of what a lot of bass players are doing as far as chordal and lots of melody stuff and soloing. That it's, for me, you grow up listening to, like, if you're getting into playing more technical music, you're going to listen to jazz more than likely, and a lot of jazz stuff early on, you hear even straight ahead early jazz. If there's a bass solo, everyone stops playing, and it's just drums and bass, And for me, it's cool, and I like that. But I want more direction, and I want a rhythm section still behind my playing. I enjoy being able to take space and allow a band to grow around and dictate, because that's what soloists do. They either dictate how the music will go, or they are capable of feeding off of what's going on in the band. And I appreciate that very much, and the way that both Mike and I play, we're capable of doing that at the same time. And I can support him, he can support me, and it's like a rhythm lead, just like in guitar and rock. You have a rhythm and then you have a lead, and we switch back and forth. There's some things, I know Stanley does that sometimes. Stanley Clark does that when he does, because he has like that tenor or piccolo bass, whatever, and he does a lot of melody stuff, and he has a bass player behind him, but not like this. And it's it can be hit or miss sometimes. It's not very easy to do because we're in the same register. And it can't. Sometimes it works perfect. Sometimes not so great. But it's really a great learning experience, and something that we try to progress on a regular basis. And I think it's cool. I like it. Now we don't have a very large repertoire. We don't get to rehearse really at all. I've known the Bendys for a long time, so I've played some of the tunes that John and Mike have come up with together. So we play some of their stuff. I have a couple originals that we're trying to work on, and then we have covers, some of my father's stuff. The sax player has a tune also. it's a work in progress. We want, eventually we want to be able to record this stuff, but we need more originals, and that's the next step is really finding the time and also the money too to be able to take breaks from everything to get together, because that's difficult. We're all kind of in New York, but we have our own lives. Everyone is trying to make a living, and it's not as easy to say, all right, we'll get together 3 days a week and work on music when they're recording or they're working a day job, or that's the life of a musician. Like I said, when you have bass players that are chordal and can play melody, you can cover tunes that way. There's certain things, like when we cover "Used to Be a Cha-Cha," there's a dedicated bass line that that's a huge part of the tune. So it's great to have a bass player play that, and then I can play the melody or solo with the bass line, because that is such a huge part of the song. Some of the other covers too, like the Josh Redman Jazz Crimes, I'll play the chords and Mike will play the bass line. Other things too, like when the sax player, his tune, we'll cover things where we'll play the same part, but we'll play octaves apart, or we'll play off each other, or we'll take turns moving, So it's constantly changing. We never play the same song the same way twice.
Like something of a function of the instrument,
yes,
and try to keep it in order.
Yes, of course. Being able to be honest enough to yourself and to the rest of your band that you're going to take the necessary steps to try and just do what's right at that moment. It's not so much about how much you can play. It's about how much you cannot play to fit in. Believe it or not. Hopefully recording and playing a tour and getting an album and touring. I would love to do that. This music it's aggressive and progressive and a little bit harder than some of the other stuff that I play. I think it's more accessible to a different genre of listeners. It's not so much jazz, but it's jazz influence, and it's not so much rock, but it's rock influence, and it's not so much funk, but it is influenced by all that. But it's something that I think there's a different type of audience out there that I think could really appreciate it. It's just kind of hard to line it up that way, because everybody wants to think, okay, Felix Pastorius' son, it's just like, it's not that, it's heavier. It's a different, it's a different thing onto itself, So hopefully my plans is to record and take this band out and, go around the world, because I think there's an audience for it. Growing up, I never went to school. I never had a teacher, so my learning was playing with different bands. I started playing when I was 15. I was in a band with Bobby Thomas Jr., who's the percussionist with Weather Report later on in my father's career. Then I was in a band, and I still am. I tour with Jeff Coffin. He's a sax player from Bella Flick and the Flecktones, and currently he's also with Dave Matthews Band. And he has a bunch of original music that I've actually been doing for about 10 years now. I've been with him for quite some time. I have different groups that I play with in New York here and there, and then I'm also playing with the Yellow Jackets now, which is a recent endeavor of mine, and that I was lucky enough for them to ask me to join the band. So I'm going to be playing with them this year for sure, at least. So that's it. When my twin brother and I were growing up, we're 9 years separated from our next closest sibling, our brother John, and 12 years from our older sister, Mary. So we grew up in separate households, and they were already on their way up to when we were younger. But they did as well. They grew up around lots of instruments, and so did we. Our mother allowed us to have music and playing music a part of our childhood by bring instruments to the house. So we had drum sets and piano and guitar and saxophone and accordion and whatever she could find to get her hands on, even at garage sales, or even instruments that weren't in great working order, but it was for us to, if we wanted to play it. But also we were required to take music lessons early on. We took violin when we were 5 for a very short period of time, and then I took piano and my twin brother took guitar.
How that other instruments improved your way of playing bass?
Piano greatly improved my way of bass, because I started teaching myself theory on piano first. I started understanding theory on piano, and then when I started playing bass, because it was more fun, and my brother started playing drums because it was more fun than piano and guitar. I was teaching myself theory from piano first to bass, and it helped quite a bit to understand or to figure it out on my own. So, yeah, I don't know why I chose bass. It just kind of happened. It's a rough industry, but it goes along with it, and it's something that everyone should learn just as much as the amount of time that you spend on the instrument, learning the instrument and becoming a great artist, you should spend that much time also focusing on what it means to get it out there, because you are selling something. It is a product. As much as it is, I don't like to think about it, it is that way, and you want to be able to get out there and express yourself, and the only way to do that is to think of it as a product. I'm not very good at it. I would prefer to just stay home and practice or rehearse or play gigs. But it's, it goes along with it, and it's something I'm still learning along the way. And it can be difficult, and you never know. It's hard to judge how far you're going to go, because one day you're doing well, and the next you don't know. You might not have the gig. So it's not that easy to judge your own personal gain through that. The only thing you can control is your personal musicianship and what it is that you do on your instrument. So I try to focus on that as much as possible, but it can be tough. It can be very, very tough trying to get out there. Even I know a lot of people must have thought too, early on that I get opportunities because of who my father was, and yes, I do have opportunities to meet people, and I've had friendships with really great musicians because of who my father was. But that doesn't make it any easier for me to become the musician who I am, or to get the gigs that I want to get.
Of course,
that comes down to being a professional musician and a professional human being, and taking care of what you have to do on a daily basis. So. Man, I would just love to travel more, and I'd love to come to your country, and I'd love to, experience. To me, music is one of the most important cultural aspects of any city or country that it's music and food. That's it. For me, when you go somewhere, if you want to experience it, you see those two things, or you experience those two things, the food and the music. And to me, that's the most important thing to continue to grow as a musician, is to be influenced by other things, not just be stuck within myself and what it is that I enjoy, but what other people, what they enjoy and what they get out of music and life, and their expression. So.